Hello YouTube friends, Dr. Teresa here again. I'm just going to show my experiment of making a home version of green water. I have some flakes that are designed for marine fish and have probiotics in them. I'm going to get about a teaspoon and I'm going to add it to my coffee grinder. And then I have some spirulina powder, and I'm going to add about a teaspoon of that into the grinder. Then I am going to turn the grinder on, and I'm going to hold the grinding setting for about 1 minute. Although the spirulina powder is already pretty fine, I want to make sure that the flakes in the marine fish food get chopped up, and adding the spirulina powder to it adds volume so that the blades can get access to cutting up things as I want. Okay, just a little bit more. Just an ordinary coffee grinder. I bought it special just for use for grinding up the food. And I'm making green water, my version of green water that is, as the enrichment and food for copepods and for newly hatched baby brine shrimp. Okay, that's probably pretty good. Getting some of that off. You can see there's powder on the top of the lid. It looks pretty well ground up in there. And I have about 1.5 to 2 cups of prepared salt water. I am going to take my little brush that came with my coffee grinder. I love this little brush. And since I use this only for preparing my green water, I don't have to worry about getting it perfectly cleaned out. If there's residue, it's not going to matter that much. It's not like I'm going to be using this later on to make some coffee for myself. And then same thing with the insides of the coffee grinder. I'm going to take my brush and get out as much as I can. And I'm pouring it into the salt water mixture, the prepared salt water, and this is prepared already at a near salinity of 1.022. I don't know the exact specific gravity just because I don't know the temperature of the water right now, but it's probably in an acceptable range for saltwater creatures. Made a little bit of a mess there, but that's okay. Easy enough to clean. Just a little bit more to clean out. I did a nice job of grinding up the flakes. So I am going to get this out of the way. I am going to get my flakes and my powder out of the way. Put my brush out of the way, and I'm going to use my spoon, and I'm going to stir up my mixture here. I'm going to stir it for about 1 minute. That's a beautiful rich green color. I'm very curious to see how this works, how well it works over time, as I use this as a food source and a supplement for brine shrimp, or I should say enrichment for brine shrimp, and a food source for copepods. With the brine shrimp though, I would also add some marine fatty acids like some silicon too. And this is a very nutritious mixture. Not only will the animals who are eating this do well, I hope, but because those animals will be well enriched, when they get eaten by the dwarf seahorses, the dwarf seahorses will benefit. So I want to keep only the green liquid. I don't want to add powder or any detritus or anything that's going to add to the pollution in a tank. I want this to be food that the animals can access. So I have a sieve here. It's 120 microns. And I'm going to turn it in a way so that I don't have to pour into the whole receptacle here because my hole in my jar is not as big. So to keep this from spilling everywhere, I'm going to pour down. And what's happening is this is separating the enriched liquid from the particles that are probably going to be too big to get eaten and will just end up polluting the tank. Now it's going to take a little bit for the water to finish going through because you can imagine that the sieve is getting clogged by those larger pieces. But while that's draining, let me see if I can move this up. You can see that this is a nice dark green liquid that's coming out. So this is my own homemade version of green water. It's not live. It's not live phytoplankton, but I don't think that's going to matter. But like I said, my channel has been one big experiment. It's been really fun. All right, I want to encourage some of that water to come out, so I'm going to move some of the heftier pieces out of the way to let that water pass. Get me a little bit better flow here. And I'm probably going to use up all of this batch right away, but probably it would be possible to make larger batches and then just put them in the refrigerator and use the batches as you need them. But once all of this gets liquefied, I do believe it's going to have to be refrigerated. And I don't know how long it would stay in the refrigerator. I wouldn't have guessed more than 2 weeks would be safe. So I'm going to have to clean this out. You can see all of the residue that's left. So that's going to get cleaned. And I am left with some beautiful, rich green, well, my home version of green water. So we'll see how this does over the long haul. Thanks so much for following along with me. I'm going to be adding this to the copepod tank and just a little bit to my current brine shrimp batch, which I have sitting in my refrigerator right now. Thanks so much for joining me. It's so fun to be with you. Take care.